Hi, my name is Corie Weathers. I'm a licensed professional counselor and also an active duty military spouse. And I'm honored to bring you today's conversation as part of the Unquiet Professionals Virtual Memorial Mile, a sacred space where we remember not just how our nation's heroes died, but how they lived. Through the voices of those who loved them the most, we preserve their legacy, their character, and the impact that they continue to have. Nicholas Guard served with distinction, strength, and quiet professionalism. But beyond the uniform, he was a husband, a father, a friend, and a leader. He was a man that was deeply loved. In this episode, you're going to hear from Cydney Guard, Nick's wife, where you're going to hear the story behind the service. You're going to get a glimpse into Nick's life, who he was, and the sacrifices that they made as a family. You're also going to get a chance to hear the enduring legacy that he leaves behind. If you feel moved by Nick's story, which I know you will, we are inviting you to join us. You can register for the Unquiet Professional Virtual Memorial Mile at theunquietprofessional.org, where you will receive Nicholas Guard's Hero Card, created in partnership with the Grateful Nation Project. It's a tangible way to carry his legacy forward. As we reflect on the life of Sergeant First Class Nicholas Guard, we are reminded that behind every name, every rank, every leader, every sacrifice, there is a story worth telling, a story we hope you will lean into and hear. It's a legacy that's worth carrying forward. And now here is my interview with Cydney Guard. Cydney, thank you so much for giving me your time, for being willing to step into such a delicate conversation, and to share more about your life and your experience. So thank you for joining me.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Cydney, I read a little bit about your story of meeting Nick, how you guys got together. He sounds like he was just an incredible, spirited, funny, and also just determined and motivated man. And so tell me what it was like to meet Nick for the first time, because he sounds like he almost as if he knew he was going to be a Green Beret before he was a Green Beret. Like when I look at his story, he was always the one that excelled physically, mentally. So was he an intense guy when you first met
Oh
him?
man, he's so intense. Like when you first meet him, it's like, oh my God, that guy's really intense. Like, what is wrong with him? Why, like, chill. Have a drink. Um, so me and some girlfriends had just graduated college. One of my friends, her parents were moving to Hawaii. They had a condo and a car and everything in Hawaii. They're moving over there for business. Didn't happen to be there this week. And my friend's like, hey, do you guys want to go to Hawaii? We just have to pay for our plane tickets. And we just graduated college. The lost little souls that we were like, okay, well, what else are we gonna do? No one's telling us what to do right now. That's scary. So yeah, we all went to Hawaii for a week, met up with one of her friends that she met in college, went to dinner with him. And then we went out for drinks after with some of his friends. And they were all recon Marines that had just gotten back from Iraq. So they had deployment money and we were broke college kids. And we're like, oh my God, wow, they're so put together. Wow, they're buying us drinks. They actually have money. Wow, what's that like? Rich,
Yeah.
because they're living at home with their parents and just got back from a deployment. Um, but we went out for drinks in Waikiki and then up late because, bars close late in Waikiki in Hawaii. And then Nick's had the bright idea to go on a hike the next day. And so he came and picked us up at like, I don't know, 9 or 10 o'clock after a heavy night of drinking. And we went on this hike, Coco Head. It's just a straight up hike. He was even more extra, heavy night of drinking. We have to do this hike, and I like want to impress this hot Hawaiian. Um, and he is even more extra being the Nick that he is, and he had like a big old rucksack and
Of
he had
course.
put sandbags in it. And he was like, yeah, going up the mountain, like whatever. And I was like, oh. I gotta impress him. Like, let me go with him and endure this suck with him. So yeah, I was really proud of myself for climbing that mountain and climbing down and um, who knew that was the beginning of like my life with Nick and him just always pushing his limits, always embracing the suck, always wanting to do more, do better. Um, yeah. At that
So,
time, I just known him like a day, and I was just like, oh my God, that guy's like so intense. Oh, he's so hot, so determined.
so as emotion is coming up for you, I know when you meet somebody that completely changes your life and teaches you something that maybe you didn't even know you needed and brings something into your life that you didn't know you needed. What an amazing and intense first date. Maybe it wasn't even a date yet. It was like a
Yeah,
get to know you kind of
yeah.
like hang out together. But you guys obviously hit it off. You married, you had two kids. And I know that this conversation is also about Nick passing away as well. And so, as that emotion is coming up for you, what is it? We're going to get to here in a minute a little bit more of his story, some of the deployments that he was on, some of his experiences that he had, even as a Green Beret. But as that emotion's coming up for you, what is it that you're missing the most?
Um, just his focus and determination, and if he was always aspiring to do better, be better. He would reach this goal, and then he would like always want to. He was like reaching for the next goal, and like, oh, there's something else I can do, like something else I can do. He was just always striving to be better. Just his internal grit, his workouts, like his focus. One of his friends said that when he was in the Q course, that they said there was like a mass text out like, oh, the AC and da 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 gym is closed. Make sure you don't go there. And then I guess like 2 minutes later, Nick texted his friend Tyler or Trevor and was like, so meet you at the gym in 5 minutes. And so they like did the Jacob's ladder and in the North Carolina heat in the middle of summer, no AC, and Nick's like, don't tell me what to do. Like, that sounds like a great time to embrace the suck. And
I think that's a lot of what special forces, Green Berets, Rangers, like all of those really, whether they have it within them in the beginning or whether it's taught to them over time, the importance of mastering yourself and mastering your body and challenging yourself and pushing yourself. And I imagine that was also a lot of pressure too. I hear from a lot of service members who carry with them the pressure to perform the pressure to excel. But it sounds like he enjoyed the challenge if he had it in front of him. So maybe let's go back a little bit. You guys were married when? What year did you get married?
well, we married in 2015. So 2009 is when I met him. And then we did long distance. I just got into nursing school. Like I was taking that summer off after graduating college and then was going to start nursing school. So we did long distance Hawaii to California for like 2 or 3 years.
That's a long time. That's a long
Yeah.
time.
And
And
then
then
he moved to North Dakota and he was there for a few months. He moved to North Dakota in November and all he had was a sweatshirt, like a hoodie sweatshirt and like a big old army bag, duffel bag full of stuff. And he like got off the airplane in Bismarck, North Dakota and a sweatshirt in the middle of winter. It's like snowing, it's freezing cold. We got married in 2015. So he
2015.
was in North Carolina. He was doing the Q course and I was still in California. Um, I wanted to make sure that I had like a solid 1 year of ER experience as a nurse before I tried to do travel nursing. So he was in North Carolina, I was in California, and he had like, I don't know, a 2 week break coming up or something. And so he's gonna come home. And so like a month prior, he's like, so I have the break next month. Do you want to like do this or what? That was the
Did he mean get married?
worst. That was my proposal.
That was the proposal. Was he intending to like get married during that 2 week span?
No, that's what we did. And I was like, I got so mad at him. I was like, okay, yeah, sure. And then I thought about it a little bit and I was like, I've been dating you for like 6 years and that's how you're gonna ask me for my hand in marriage? Like, are you serious? Like, you wanna do this or what? But it was like such Nick fashion. He's just so humble, easygoing, like, I don't know, not glitz and glam at all. I picked him up at the Sacramento airport. We went dress shopping. I think I got a dress at BB. A ring at Zales. But yeah, I guess the cost of things doesn't matter. And obviously, it's such good memories, fond memories for me to like think about and reflect on like the silly little marriage proposal that he had and how he got the dress and how he got the ring. But I was freaking out trying to like where am I gonna get married, mom? Like, I can't believe this is how he's asking me. Like, we only have this short amount of time to plan it. Like, where are we gonna go? And then she's like, oh, I heard the San Francisco courthouse is really nice. Like, you can do it there. And I was like, okay. I'm like trying to figure out how to get married, how to get a marriage license in this short amount of time, where to get married. She ended up uh finding I was born and raised in the Buddhist church in San Jose. And Reverend Sakamoto was available on Monday, July 6th, when Nick was going to be there. And it's like, oh, I was able to book Reverend Sakamoto so you can get married in the Buddhist church. And I was like, okay, cool. And then Nick's family like flew in. Well, I don't know, had a reception dinner like at my parents' house, just all hung out with the cousins and stuff, and aunties and uncles and then got to the church and it was a surprise wedding. So my mom and her sisters and Nick's family, they all surprised me. My mom did what she could. She invited a bunch of different friends. Those friends like invited friends, all these aunties and uncles and cousins, people from my past were all there. And I had no idea that any of them were going to be there. Um, Friends from high school, friends from college surprised me. And I got married to my best friend.
What a beautiful start. And how beautiful it was that you got what you needed to start that with the blessing of friends and family and the support around you, which has no doubt supported you and continue to support you.
Yeah.
As you were telling that story before, I realized there was a surprise wedding in there. I was reflecting on how powerful it can be, as a counselor who works with so many military couples. What stands out to me in the couples that make it or get through really hard times is the ability to make the choice. There's a constant choice every day to choose to love each other, to choose to work hard on your marriage. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's really hard. But there is, as unromantic as it sounds, there is a lot of work that's involved in marriage. And there's a sweetness behind committing to saying, let's just do this. So
Mhm.
in 2017, he joined the Green Berets. I know he went on several other deployments after that. You said Iraq in the beginning, Afghanistan was definitely in there as well. He looks like he was also in Ranger School in June of 2019. So he continued this life of extra, as you called it.
Mhm.
Do you mind sharing a little bit of like what some of those years were like? You and I were talking before we hit record about us potentially we crossed paths in first group a few years ago, and so that lifestyle can be very intense. And you spent some time up in Washington, and so tell us what some of those years were like being part of Special Forces, what it was like for you as a military spouse during those years.
Um, so I got pregnant in 2019, I think, earlier 2019. We were in North Carolina and then got stationed in Washington State. Um, So I was working as a travel nurse in North Carolina and then moved to Washington and was pregnant and I couldn't get my license
Mhm.
fast enough. So I moved to this foreign place, didn't know anybody. Nick was constantly gone. They were training up for their deployment to Afghanistan. He was learning this new job and they're about to deploy. And I guess I was selfish in not thinking about all of that, but I was like, at home by myself. I was pregnant, hormones raging through me. And then I was losing my identity during that time because I'm like, well, I'm not working. What am I supposed to do all day? And he's gone all day and I don't know anybody. So that was a very rough patch for us. And I'm so grateful for friends that helped guide him. Heath Poston, especially that he has, him and Katie have 6 kids and he, I think, helped guide Nick and give him like words of encouragement, big brother encouragement, and like, well, this is what marriage is, and I don't know how to be a good dad, how to be a good husband. So there's like so many moms before me that I learned from how to be a mom, a military spouse
Mhm.
from them, just watching them and see how hands-on they were and making memories and making every day count. And when you're in the military, like those connections like hit quick because I don't know why. Maybe you know deep down inside, like you don't know when someone's gonna deploy or move away to um another spot, but I am so grateful for making those connections with the other military spouses and families and them teaching me how to be a mom and how to be a military spouse.
Such a special group of people that you really cannot do life without having a group of people that understand what that life is like and what it requires and the help that you're going to need. And so there's so many families right now that maybe either don't know the value of other military families being around them and accepting that support, or maybe don't know how important it is to reach out. But I think that your story is a good reminder that we all need support. We all need people around us, and even more, needing people who understand what we're going through or at least can relate to it. And so I'm glad that you accepted that support. I'm glad that you acknowledged your need for it. And Nick as well, it sounds like, accepted that support. This story is also a really, really painful story of what it's like to move through loss, especially considering Nick completed suicide in 2022. And I think that one of the biggest questions that come up for a lot of people is, were there signs? Because there's people that are all the time that are concerned with those around them. And there's always that question of how do you know and can you know? And that's such a complicated question because I don't know if there's a clear answer for it. But I think that so many of our, especially GWAT veterans, have been through a lot, have seen a lot, and then come home and bring that war with them. It's not like we see service members go over, and I'm a military spouse as well. My husband has been through traumatic experiences during his deployment. And so it's not like they go and have those experiences and then we just move on with our lives and we don't have to wrestle with, or they don't even have to wrestle with the things that they've seen, the things that they've experienced. And then how do you reconcile that with normal everyday American life? It's just, my husband used to call it bizarro world. Like what he experienced over there was so different from his experience back at home. And so many of our veterans bring war home with them, trying to reconcile that. I'm sure it's an impossible question to ask you what you felt like happened or if there was signs leading up to his suicide. But especially as you are, I guess we're 4 years later, there's sometimes things that we see in hindsight, and maybe not. So would you mind sharing what your thoughts have been lately as you look back in hindsight?
Um, I guess as a Green Beret, they pride themselves on compartmentalizing. And so I thought that Nick was really good at compartmentalizing. Like, this is family time. Okay, now this is military time. and that he was able to just keep it in the boxes. But I think clearly that was bleeding. The military life was bleeding into the family life. Um, I can't even say hindsight 2020 because I look back like a month prior, he and I had taken a couple's trip to Spokane and we'd like had an extended weekend together and just he and I like were able to reconnect. I think the weekend prior, we drove down to Oregon to watch his brother graduate college and me, him, and our two kids, we and his family, we all stayed in this big Airbnb together and made so many memories together, laughed and cried, and we're just there to support his youngest brother, Dylan, graduating from college. Um, I can't say hindsight 2020. I I guess like maybe what led up to him, like the conclusions that I made for myself were he was on a team 1325 and then he went to the B team, not because he was in trouble or anything, but just because that's what they're supposed to do. Like, and the B team supports the rest of the teams. And it's from Nick's words, it was a fruitless job, an endless job, and you're just constantly having to support all these different teams, and there's like no end to the task. And he had to do a layout with all the equipment. And it's not, I don't know anything about these layouts, but being the Nick that he is, like it was like the perfect layout and he was able to do it in alphabetical order and like the person in charge was like able to see, oh wow, that's a great job. Okay, done, like check. Um, but it was a fruitless job. Like that didn't bring him joy. There was no mission. He wasn't striving for anything. So I guess he got his sense of purpose taken away from being on a ODA to being on a B team, which is support staff. And then he also tried out for CAG, and didn't make it. And I was like, obviously, if you're going to try out for CAG, you're going to make it. Everything else you've done, you've excelled at, and you passed the Q course. You didn't have to recycle. Passed Ranger School, didn't have to recycle. Obviously, you're going to go out for CAG and there's no questions. Like you're obviously going to pass. I believed in him. I think his whole team believed in him. The whole family believed in him. Just if this is what Nick wants, this is obviously what he's going to get. And so I think it was a bigger letdown than he let everyone to believe. He was proud of himself for his efforts and was like, I got an invite back at least. Like not everyone gets an invite back. So he was just focused on the next step. We went to REI, spent a bunch of money on equipment so that way he could continue his training for the next, I don't know, chance to try out for CAG. Um, and I ended up having to return some of that stuff because it never made it out of the box. It still had the tags on it. And Nick was our main source of income. And all of a sudden there was no income. It's like, okay, like how am I going to pay for the bills? Like, so I was like, went to REI and returned a few things, like a few $100s worth of stuff to try to like make ends meet and like think about the future. My husband just died, and now let's go return some stuff to REI so I can pay the bills. Um, yeah, I don't know. Those are the things that I think led up to his ultimate um suicide. And also there was some stuff in Afghanistan that happened that um carried a very heavy weight for him. And I wish he didn't pride himself so much on compartmentalizing and talked about it, talked to someone like you, just sought professional help. I think he prided himself on being the shoulder to lean on. Like there were so many guys that came to him and told them about their infidelities or their struggles with like drugs or alcohol. and Nick was there for them. So I don't understand. He could see that other men were struggling, so I don't understand why he didn't allow himself to be vulnerable and open up in that way. Like, I don't.
There's a lot of veterans that struggled with the Afghanistan withdrawal and things ending the way that they
That
did.
that too. Like, I think that was also part of it.
Yeah, and that I feel like especially the soft community, I mean, so many more than just the soft conventional side, definitely struggling with it as well. But the soft community, including Nick, just spent just extra time with more intimate relationships with translators, with just different people working with Afghan security forces, like Nick did. And so there was there was relationships that were built. There was promises that were made. There was the experience of pouring your time, your talent, and your experience into something that you definitely needed to see it matter, or you need it, yeah. And so to have the withdrawal happen the way that it did, it really brought up some very hard questions. In fact, I interviewed Krista Simpson Anderson during that withdrawal because one of the biggest questions that was coming up was in the news circulating was it worth it? Was the GWAT years worth it? And that was really painful for I think all of the force and their families to hear this question that was coming up. I know for our service members, they had to determine in those months what their why was and why it was worth it, and especially reconciling those that they had lost and why their lives mattered and why their sacrifice was worth it. And so I think for so many veterans that came home and had that experience of deploying over to Afghanistan and then watching the way that it happened, there was a lot of these questions of, like you brought up in hindsight, which is, what is my purpose? Why am I doing this? What is the next thing that I'm going to strive for? And what's the why that's behind it? And so many people continue to struggle with those same questions. And so I think they're important questions to bring up. And I think that's one of the themes that I'm hearing in your story and in our conversation is what is all of our whys and what matters in our life? And that can be really difficult to think through and figure out. I think another hard conversation, because I really want to get to how you have discovered since then what matters in your life and what you are striving for and what motivates you every single day. And I think that's the really important part of the story that I hope everybody listening is going to stay tuned for, because I think just as we can be curious about why somebody or how somebody would make a decision to complete suicide, I think that we also have to ask the question, and we do, all of us deep down inside wonder, how does someone rebuild themselves after great loss? I think that's a lesson all of us need to learn, and also we can relate to as well. And so before we get to you rebuilding and what you're focused on today, I think another hard conversation in our military community that we don't have enough, because it's a really complicated one to have, is that we tend to honor and raise up those who are killed in combat, and not so much those who are struggling with some of the things that they're bringing home from war and don't know how to process that, and that the war itself really haunts them. And we have so many people that have completed suicide, who have taken their lives, and have struggled with that. It's an important conversation that needs to happen in our community. And their lives are absolutely lives that need to be honored, and their families like you raised up and supported, because you are part of this community. You are part of this family, and everybody has sacrificed so much. Nick sacrificed years of his marriage, like you described, time with his kids, served our nation, and obviously was struggling with some of those things that he saw because he was sent on our nation's behalf. So, I know that's a really complicated topic to bring up for you. I'm sure it's something that you've wrestled with along the way. What would you want people to know when it comes to honoring those who've taken their lives and have gone through what you've gone through since Nick passed? What would you want people out there to remember?
When I talk about earlier, we were talking about how I was like all in on being a military spouse. I'm so grateful for those other families who were before me and helped guide me in how to be a military spouse and military, um, and a mom. And I was just all in on the military. And those are my best friends, the other military spouses. And those are the families that we hung out with. And all of a sudden, Nick died, and I lost my sense of identity. So I'm like, who am I now? I'm no longer a military spouse. Who am I? Um, and going through grief and raising two young children, they were 2 and 4 at the time. That's like really scary to go through. To lose my sense of identity, my purpose, who am I now? So I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't eating, I lost like 20 pounds um in like a few short months, and I was just like up late all the time Googling like how do I tell my kids? Should I have an open casket or not? Um, do I tell the school? And I Googled other like military widows, and I was like Googling stuff like that, and I was able to find special operations survivors. Um, and so they have widow retreats every year in October um, for special ops survivors. So there's like a lot of MARSOC widows, Green Beret, just all sorts of from all the branches. And we get together and it's fun. Like it's not just sorrow and grief. Um, I found TAPS, and that was really good for the beginning. And we talked about grief a lot. And I was like slowly learning that I am not alone, and there's other, just like there was military spouses that preceded me, there's also military widows that preceded me, and I could learn from them. I remember um learning more about Krista Simpson, and I was like, how how
Mhm.
how can I be like her? Like I don't see myself starting a foundation. I can barely even like I can't even keep my house clean. I don't even know how to like keep my house clean right now. Um, I can't even eat. I can't even sleep. Like how can I get to be like her? And I just remember like intensely like asking these other widows, like, did you find somebody else? Like, how did you raise your kids? Just how are you getting up every single day? Um, and I don't know how I'm doing it. But I'm so proud of myself for how far I've come. And I've definitely not done it alone. Friends and family have definitely helped me. Um, I started to journal back then, and I'd write like 3 things that I was grateful for the day, like 3 things that I was productive in doing in that day. That was advice that was given to me by a friend. I found this Travis Manion Foundation, and they help give you purpose in beyond just yourself. Um, I don't know. I just like went all in. I found Where Blue Run to Remember, and so before we left Washington, they have a big chapter in JBLM because Lisa Howlett, that's where she lives, and she was the founder. Um, So 10 weeks leading up to Memorial Day, the kids every Saturday would go with their mentor and uh train for 5K was the goal. And Leilani was I think 3 or 4, and Maddox was like 5 or 6. And Leilani would wear those like little dress up heels, sparkly heels, and just every Saturday we'd meet up with their mentor. Leilani's mentor was Saw. Maddox's mentor was a former Green Beret. No, he's a current Green Beret who also happened to be a weapons sergeant. Um, so just looking for the positive in every single day. Um, and they didn't like complete the 5K. That wasn't the purpose, but the purpose was just to live life, love life. There's other people that can love you as well. Doesn't just have to be your dad. Um, I was able to run the Marine Corps Marathon this past October with Wear Blue Run to Remember. They sponsored me, trained me, and I was with other survivors, Gold Star survivors, other widows, other children, adult children, and we trained together virtually. And again, I wasn't alone. I had a community of people behind me and trainers um, and other Gold Star family members that get it to the core. And to say widow, it's like seeing another widow, it's like, oh my God, you get it. You see me. I don't have to explain myself. I don't have to explain this pain and this hurt and this confusion. And it's not just the loss of Nick, it's like the loss of me and who I was with Nick and the future that I had written in my head over the years that we were together. Yeah, so it's again, it's not just me, it's me and all these like beautiful nonprofits that see a hole and are helping to guide me and my children and helping to hold us up. Um, Nick wanted the kids to do jujitsu before he passed away. He's like, oh, when Maddox gets older, I want them to do jujitsu. And so even to this day, he's guiding us in their extracurriculars.
Mm.
So Angels of America's Fallen is one of them that helps us. Project Unbroken is another one that helps us. Trina founded Project Unbroken because she lost her husband to suicide, and children that lose their parents to suicide are 3 times more likely to also complete suicide. So, finding an outlet to pour themselves into and not dwell on the negative, has definitely helped them.
So beautiful to hear just all the people and organizations that have wrapped their arms around you and your family. Um, Perhaps we can say that no two experiences of grief are the same, right? Like everybody's experience of grief, especially around death, is different. And we have different complex emotions that come with it. There are some that go through grief and that loss was expected. That's very different from going through grief and loss when it's unexpected, whether it's death during combat, during a mission, or whether it's by suicide. That surprise and that shock can disrupt an entire family and a spouse and kids. And so I'm so grateful that you've had people that have surrounded you who've been through grief, as complex as it is and as different as it can be from person to person, that spending time with people who know what that, like you said, that beginning feeling feels like and what lingers afterwards and the questions and the very practical needs that follow after that. When I look over our conversation, a couple of themes come up. Number one, the importance of community and support and people who understand you, and that we might have very different people at different seasons of our life. And I think that sometimes we have this idea, I know I've had this in my life where I expected that if somebody was a part of one season of my life, that they were going to be always in my life. And yet perhaps it's more about seasons and that it's okay for our needs to change and for our community to change. Some friends will stick with you no matter what seasons you go through and what challenges you go through. But that we also go through different seasons of our life with different needs, and it's okay for that support to change. The point is, do you have the right people around you, and are you reaching out to people who understand your story and can relate and speak your language, and how powerful that is, and that nobody should go at that alone. And I think that's also one of the themes here, is that although we will never know what was going through someone's mind, the exact thoughts that were going through someone's mind when they contemplated suicide, attempted suicide, or completed suicide, we'll never have the answers to those questions. I think that what we all think about is the importance of that person having somebody to talk to. Like if they just would have not felt alone, or that they had to carry it by themselves, they would have had someone else to share that burden with, or just the vulnerability to know that they could share that burden. I think a lot of people have the support, they have the spouse, they have the friends, but for whatever reason, they're not reaching out. And perhaps that's another message here, is that if somebody's listening to this story and they think that they're alone, that really we're not. There are so many people around all of us that care, and not everybody will understand the intricate details, because nobody has a life just like ours. But there are plenty of people that love you, that want to connect with you, and are willing to hear your story. Cydney, is there anything else that you would add to that, that you would maybe want somebody out there who's listening that might have some of those thoughts or feelings? What would you want them to know?
Um, One of my friends, Kristen, said, "What is love? To be seen, heard, and validated." Um, so I guess everything that I've gone through, for someone to see me and hear my story and validate, like, you are capable, you are strong, you can do this, um, has definitely also been a guiding light in getting me through all of this. Um, but yes, you matter. We want to hear your story. We want to help you, guide you through this tough time that you're going through, and you're not alone, and you're not a burden at all, and you are loved. You are so loved. I don't know, like, Nick was so loved.
So loved by so many. We started this conversation talking about how intense he was and how extra he was. How are you taking that spirit? You mentioned he's guiding you through, your kids' extracurricular activities, but maybe to close, how do you, what are you doing? What are you thinking about each day as you think about how to make Nick part of your life and part of your family moving forward, and honoring who he was to you as a best friend, who he was as a dad, who he was for this nation as well?
So every night we light a candle during dinner, me and the kids, and so Daddy can eat with us. And then every night the kids blow it out, and I tell them, say good night, Daddy, and they always like blow the candle out, and they're like, good night, Daddy, I love you, I miss you, I wish you were here. Um, Sometimes randomly they'll just be like, oh, I miss Daddy, can I watch Daddy's video? Um, and so we'll watch the video that his brother made with all the pictures and timed with the music. But all the time I'm telling them, like, oh, you're just like Daddy in this way, you're just like Daddy in that way, you're so handsome like Daddy. Like, I love how determined you are, just like Daddy, and let's work out so we can be strong like Daddy. We gotta eat healthy so we can be strong like Daddy. I'm like always talking about Nick. And always making sure that whenever we go somewhere or do something, like how the kids are able to go to Disney World with Gary Sinise Foundation, I'm like, do you know why we're here? And so I remind them, like, because Daddy paid the ultimate sacrifice, and there's other people that are so thankful for him and his service and his sacrifice, and they are so sorry that you don't have a daddy here, and they just are wrapping you up in love. So I just want to also make sure that they appreciate all of these opportunities that they have, that Nick is, in a way providing for us.
Yeah. I do have one last question. I think in all this conversation about our why and our identity, how would you define how you're writing your identity today? Who is Cydney? Now, you said, first of all, I want to say you will always be a military spouse. Let me just say that. Once a spouse, always a spouse. But I think it's also up to us to decide our identity, and we find ourselves in places where we have to pivot and maybe write our identity. So, where are you today, and how are you writing out what your identity is and what matters to you?
Oh, I'm forever evolving. I guess that's one thing that I've learned in this grief journey that I'm in is, um just because I was identified as a military spouse 3.5, 4 years ago doesn't mean that I'm still not. And we're just like, I guess, adding to the resume forever. But I'd say my identity, I am a great hands-on mom. My kids have already lost so much. And so I think I probably do a little extra for them, a lot extra for them, to make sure that they live life, love life. We're making those memories. Life's not about stuff. It's about making memories with your people. I'm a nurse. I think I'm also a warrior. I'm a badass warrior for being able to continue on this beautiful life, showing my kids life is still beautiful, keeping Nick alive. I did a Google search of Nick because I was like, how did Craig find out all this information about Nick? And I did a Google search and I was like, Valhalla, oh, that was me. Oh, Marine Corps Marathon, that was me. Where Blue Run to Remember, that was me. Like, just all these Travis Manion, like all this information that's out there, that was me. I did that. I'm keeping him alive. And he's just too special of a person to not be known, for his story to not be heard. Like, he's just such an amazing person inside and out, and so kind, so loving, just a great cook, a great comedian, a great workout partner. I don't know why I'd get mad at him, like whenever we'd go on workouts and I'd be like, oh, like, why are you going faster than me? Like, as if I can keep up with a Green Beret. Like, come on, Cydney. He works out like, I don't know, so many hours a day. What are you doing? But I was just as competitive as him, and I wanted to like keep up with my husband. I'm an athlete. I don't know. I'm forever figuring out who I am and what I want in life.
I think that's a great way to end that. And Cydney, I'm so proud of you. I genuinely am so proud of you for getting up each day and finding your why. And of course, very few of us can keep up with a Green Beret, but I know that when I look at marriages, people are attracted to each other's spirit and their soul and what they offer each other. And it doesn't matter how fast somebody runs or how strong someone is. I think that people of character sense and see character in the other person, and that's what attracts them. And you obviously not only have the character, but you have the spirit, you have the determination, and I think you have the extra too. And so, Cydney, I'm so proud of you. Thank you for sharing your story with us this year. Thank you for letting us honor him, and by doing so, honoring you and honoring the warrior that you are, that not only keeps his story alive, but that really is building your story and your kids' story as well. So I appreciate your time.
Yes, thank you so much, Corie.
Cydney's story is an amazing story of courage, of character, of the willingness to find new purpose, to reframe identity. And I hope more than anything, you also hear that you are not alone, regardless of who you are and what you're going through, that all it takes is reaching out and asking for help. Through the Unquiet Professional Memorial Mile, we honor not only those that we've lost, but the families that continue to carry their legacy forward. If this story has touched you, which I know it has, we invite you to take the next step in honoring Nick Guard and also Cydney Guard. You can visit theunquietprofessional.org and register for the Virtual Memorial Mile. It's not a big commitment, and it's going to make a meaningful difference in your life and those lives that you are supporting. When you do, you will receive Nick's Hero Card from the Grateful Nation Project. It's a tangible way that you can carry his story with you, one step at a time. To Cydney and her family, thank you for vulnerably sharing your story and sharing Nick with us. His story, his life, his service, everything that he's done will not be forgotten, because they are never just names. They are lives, they are legacies, and they are forever part of us. Thank you for listening.